Welcome into the Beat Sessions. I'm your host, Mitchell Weary. The Sneaker Pimps have returned from the great beyond. All right, maybe that's a little dramatic, but it has been about 2 decades since they released a record. This is Squaring the Circle. They dropped that on September 10th. It is their 4th studio record and follows 2002's Bloodsport, which wasn't very good. Let's be real. I think we can all agree that the biggest mistake they made was firing Kelly Alley. Becoming X is like a staple of not even just 1996. I think that album in particular, the song Six Underground, might be one of the biggest staples of the 90s period. That album just blew everyone away. I remember being 12 years old and listening to it for the first time, admittedly thinking it was Portishead at first. But I love Chris Corner and his guitar work on that record. They remind me a little bit of Placebo meets Portishead. Absolutely loved the sound of that first record, especially the opening track, Low Place Like Home. It kind of sounds like what Radiohead did with I Might Be Wrong 5 years later on Amnesiac. It sounds like they just like sped it up a little bit. It's got the same tone almost. I don't know. I'm going to throw that out there. A little more debate. Please comment below if you disagree. It's fun to stir the pot every now and then. But I think of Sneaker Pimps and I think of all the bands that have followed. 07, the XX, Thievery Corporation, Beat Connection. Throw it out there. There's so many bands I feel like that took influence from this record, from Portishead, from some of these bands that had really strong female vocal performers and just had this unique sound that was combining so many different elements of rock and roll, electronic, jazz. You name it. The style that the Sneaker Pimps have just incorporates so many things, but fundamentally it's chill and it's laid back and it's a little on the dark and edgy side, which is why I always dug these guys. So this new record, really capturing a lot of that, loving Squaring the Circle. And what they're doing correctly on this is bringing in a strong female vocalist in Simone Jones. She's featured on 10 of the 16 tracks on this record. And the best moments on this album are anywhere she's at pretty much. There's one track that I'm not really particularly a fan of that she's featured on. But for the most part, and especially the opening, the first 6 songs, she does the vocals on 5 out of these 6. And is just stealing the show on this thing. Absolutely phenomenal. Opens up with Fighter, Child in the Dark. And then Alibis is actually where Corner takes over on vocals and is great in that particular song. It's got an excellent melody. His falsetto is working just phenomenally in that track. So I dig him there. Leads into So Far Gone, which is probably my favorite song on the record. Simone just sounds fantastic on that track. Immaculate Hearts and No Show. Those are your first 6 songs. I love the energy. It's got this feel of Becoming X, this kind of old energy from the band. But Simone, she's got something, it's just this little intangible thing that I'm still trying to put my finger on as far as, the difference in her voice. There's almost more of a warmth in her voice where, Kelly Alley's is, that dark gothness kind of cuts to the core a little bit. Simone is embracing that, but hers is it's a little more welcoming. I don't know if that's exactly what I want to say or, putting that finger on that exactly like I was talking about. But there is this subtle difference that the music is working with as well brilliantly. And I really like the vibe of the first 30 minutes of this record. And then it just starts to drift up and down a little bit, unfortunately. Tranquility Trap, I'm not a huge fan of. The song Immaculate Hearts is the 5th song, actually, which, as much as I love it, Chris Corner is, dominating a lot of the vocal in that track, and it's the first moment on the album where I really was like, okay, she needs to take hold. She needs to just be doing her thing. And I think that this album would have benefited from her just taking the lead and cutting pretty much every song that Chris is singing on. And it's not to say that they're bad songs. I just think that, after 20 years, it sounds like they're re-energized. It sounds like they're going to continue to make music, perform live shows. And I just think from an album standpoint, as you continue to release music, this project would have benefited from just having Simone Jones be that vocal point and have her be the focus of that record, lyrically, vocally, and then maybe do something else with some of these other songs. Because like I said, they're not bad, and I don't want to say that some of them are filler. Honestly, the song Pink Noise, I'm not a fan of Tranquility Trap. Black Rain is one where Simone Jones is featured where I'm not really digging that song. But this thing, it loses its pace and it really starts to drag and become a little bloated towards the end. It's got an hour and 8-minute runtime at 16 tracks. I think that this thing could have really benefited from, editing out 5 of those songs, just focusing on Simone, letting her do her thing lyrically. So I'm going to have to pass on this package. It's going to be a double LP. I just don't know if I'm in the mood to pay the money for that second LP that's got a bunch of music that I just, again, it's not to say that's necessarily bad, but I just think it would have had more continuity and would have had better identity and not felt like, I don't know, like filler, like it was making this album feel a little bloated if they'd saved it for a different project. So I am stoked that the Sneaker Pimps are back. I definitely suggest listening to the first, listen to like the first 10 songs of this record, or even just listen to everything with Simone Jones on it. If you want to, skip over the other songs, or do what you want to do with this thing, because it does have a pretty big long time runtime. But the first 6 songs, at the very least, spot on, well done. Hope you enjoy them, and I hope you find this review helpful. Please like this video, share it, subscribe to the channel, and we will see you next time on the Beat Sessions.